Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll pick up, and I appreciate Commissioner Billadou running the meeting today. We need to hit the start button.
No.
Oh, let me introduce him. Thank you for reminding me. We have a new admin in planning. She'll be handling a lot of the notices and emails. This is Katie Queen. So, if you need any help from planning, let her know. But between myself, Katie, and Becky, we're the ones who are sending everything out. So I want you to meet Katie. This is the Growth Management Task Force.
Nice to meet you.
We're a little light tonight.
Yes, we are. So where we're at, our co-chair, Mr. Osborne, has COVID. So he's not with us. So he's sent his best wishes that we will be successful tonight. Appreciate Dennis running the meeting for us. But where we left off last time, we were in the southwest quadrant. We did not finish it, so we're basically looking at the area where North Cross Drive Extension is. And let's see, where's my, and that is the Alexander Chase area, this blue area, down to Stratford Forest, which is this subdivision. So this is the area we're going to look at real quick. I don't know that we need a lot of time to look at that area, but Mr. Chairman, say what, 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, so my observation of this group is we've gotten better about how we work as a team when we go up to the maps. So let's get right to it. I really think we're at a point now where we're pretty good at getting to the conclusion pretty quickly. So we should be able to get through this pretty quick and go on to the next quadrant.
And one thing I'll suggest, Mr. Chairman, we are light tonight.
Yeah.
We could probably just do it as one group here.
Yeah,
Okay.
good suggestion.
And we can either go to this side, we can go to either side.
Can we use the?
We can use this.
Big one?
We'll just use this one right up here, and Becky, you just want to take notes? Okay? So the key things in the area we're looking at, this is the existing Alexander Chase subdivision. You have McDowell Creek Greenway that comes through here, comes all the way down to Burkeville. Great resource. People love this trail. We have the North Cross Drive extension that will come off of this road right here, will meander through this property and down to and pick up right here.
Did you have a map overlay with where that's wanted to go in?
I'll pull that up while we talk. So key thing about this property, it is zoned business campus. We have never zoned it residential because if we did, Ryan Holmes or whoever would be in there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So we've kept its own business campus to ensure that homes will never be built in there. We want something that faces the interstate, so that's been our thing for the last 10 years. So I'll stop there and see if y'all have discussion, and I will pull up the North Cross map.
Could you explain what the uses can be under the current zoning?
Yes. Jump back on that map.
Do we have those handouts that have all the?
Yes. And Fred's got it up there.
Yep.
There's some behind you too, right there, Richard. You need one. So the Alexander Chase subdivision, that is neighborhood residential. That is 4 to 6 units per acre.
Right.
Business campus, this is really our anything but residential district. There is absolutely zero residential allowed in this district. It can be flex space, which that's what most people talk about. What flex space is if you're familiar with Hyde Park, out on Bailey Road, big white buildings, contractors, it can be a business, it can be a brewery.
So this is what we're saying, suburban business center?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the good things that a lot of realtors is the visibility from 77. One of the bad things is the access right now. North Cross Drive extension will cure that. This is single family, 1 per half acre. So that's, and then of course the green is rural preservation.
So does it end at the creek?
It's in at the creek.
So there's a creek that runs along the greenway.
Yes.
So the part that's east of that along and fronts 77 is the business campus.
Yes, that's
Now there's
correct.
one section in there that's shoulders his Robbins Park and the Westmoreland Athletic Complex.
So all, that's Robbins Park phase, what I think is now called 3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
So this
So it's
is,
that green section.
Yes, the
yeah.
green section.
So one thing that I'll add, and this is the way that the park is designed, is that, and it's already, we started talking about it in the design of the park, that North Cross extension comes over and goes through the park.
Okay.
So if you're
Yeah.
looking at that as an access point to a business center, that means you're not funneling traffic through a park.
Oh,
Now, I will
They
say,
are following traffic.
in our discussions with the county and with DOT, they know that we're funneling traffic through here to get to this. And it can come either this way or this way. But because that is so limited in size, it can't be like a Highway 21. It can't be like a West Catawba.
And that North Cross extension is 4 lanes or 2?
Two, with no curb and gutter. It is meant to be country 2-lane road.
Sidewalks?
We asked if the developer provided sidewalks, so it asked, now in the park, there will be no sidewalks. There will only be the internal paths that are planned within the park.
Yep.
The only sidewalk will be when the developer builds this section. We're gonna ask them to put sidewalks that will get them to the Greenway Trail, to McDowell Creek.
So we've already talked about from the design of the park about traffic remediation in there, like how do you, because you're gonna get, it's a sharp bank has turned out, but you're gonna get people blowing through there at 90 miles an hour. So I just bring that up because it's not like it's a fully functioning giant road.
No, it's like, it's just a 2-lane country road, more modern, but if you worry about the park and what the boundaries from the park to the roads
And I
will be
believe-
to kind of limit those kids just jumping through the street.
And I believe the Greenway crosses the park, crosses that road twice.
So the Greenway, will it be,
Will we see this on the overlay?
so that's the next question on the Greenway, is the Greenway gonna do what it's doing at Westmoreland, or we're forcing people to cross a busy street?
It'll cross the street, not depends.
And actually, it's great simple. Greenway goes under the road.
So it's gonna be a tunnel.
Yes.
Well, that must not be
Better,
Yeah.
that's better. We learned that lesson from the Westmoreland thing.
That's not a good one. Let me do
No. It felt right there.
Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, though, we looked at this, we envisioned this as being an alternative to send traffic that would otherwise go up to Catawba.
That's correct. This will be a reliever to Catawba for the people who know it's there.
So, yeah, I get you there. I'm also visualizing this one will be built prior to West Catawba and Stevenson and Sanford White.
Yes, it will.
So off of that, you're gonna see traffic not expected on that road, way above capacity during those construction periods.
You also won't have a park there.
The park, that's good. But that's also gonna limit construction starting in that park.
It's also to provide relief for the Alexander Farms.
Correct. Yep.
So, you've got that dynamic to think about, you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's just, I'm trying to think through all the projects that I'm aware of, which is probably less than you all are, but just looking at, the key criticisms we have right now in town is primarily traffic flow. And with the projects that are slated to happen, which will alleviate traffic flow, but not for 5 to 10 years. Right now, right? We're adding in other projects that are gonna push more cars onto roads that weren't designed to handle that amount.
Well, this project, the way DOT is designing it, it will handle even an elevated amount of traffic from West Catawba. It'll handle that.
Okay. So if we go back to that business center campus area, I'll just come out and say, I'm okay with that staying business campus. And we were talking here from a perception or conceptualize of how big the buildings and stuff like that can go. We can, along the highway corridor, I'm good with the larger six-story type building.
Hotel.
Hotels are fine, it's right off the highway, it's a presentation thing, as long as there's enough buffer between that and the neighborhoods that are around there.
I think
Because
that's
those
what
all-
you're gonna find,
Yeah.
the businesses that want highway frontage.
Correct. So I'm not against that, where I have a problem with larger flows, and this will get back to where we almost got to last week, was like the waterfront and having 5, 6-story buildings, that really just does not sit with the flavor of what I think we were, or at least what I was envisioning, but I just.
Yeah, no, that was towards the end of the presentation, the idea, I think you talked about 6 stories, and I think when we come back to refine, I'm sure, I certainly have thoughts on 6 stories or not, but.
I just said 6 stories because that's what, from a capability perspective
Sure.
with our fire trucks and whatnot, ladders, that's the max. I'm not necessarily saying that I would want 6 stories.
Yeah, that'll be important, I think, for us to have a consensus on that.
Are you saying that for highway frontage, you're still opposed to 6-story?
No, highway frontage is a place where I see that working.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but if you say it in highway frontage, do you also have to say it for everywhere else?
We need to zone for
You
that.
don't have to do anything.
Sure.
Limited.
Yeah.
So do we agree to keep it like it is right now?
Business.
Business campus, yeah, I don't have an issue.
And is the difference, it seems like a lot of developers come in and ask for CZ zoning, but I don't see CZ anywhere in here unless I missed it.
CZ is a process, so that's why it's not listed as a category. What CZ does is, what it's meant to be is if you want to deviate from what's in the book, you ask the board for a conditional zoning. Now, we set ours up a little more restricted than Cornelius. We have it where almost 9 out of 10 projects have to get CZ. And the way we set that up is because we're such a small town, we say that our citizens expect to have a public hearing process. They expect to be able to come before the board and voice an opinion. So we have very little that a person can come in and pull a permit and do by right. We catch a lot of flack for that, but I think our citizens appreciate that. So that CZ is a process. So what we've got in the book is that 9 out of 10 things you do in this town, you're going through a process where you're going to go before the planning board and town board to seek approval. So we generally use the code, I hate saying this, but we use the code as a guide, because when you're in CZ, town board can do whatever they want.
Right, and then developers have more creative ability as well, for what they want to ask for.
They can have more creative ability. Most developers will tell you that it's a burden, because most elected boards ask for far more than what's in the book. And that's okay, it's perfectly fine.
So even if something's BC, a developer could come in and it would be actually zoned CZ?
Yes. So what will most likely happen here is, even though it's on business campus, which prevents the residential, a developer will come in and ask for a CZ zoning. And what we'll tell them is, you've got to maintain the business campus philosophy. You've got to do your buildings that way. Now, what they might ask for is, just pulling stuff out of the air, they might say, well, I'll do 80% of a business campus, but I've got a hotel. And the hotel would like to be 6 stories. Can I do that hotel at 6 stories, and can I add maybe 30 condos to that? Well, that requires board approval. They might also have a flex space that involves a use such as batting cages. That's not a normal flex space, but we might be okay with that. That might be something that we want for our young people and our citizens to enjoy. But we got to look at the impacts and what the traffic, and does that impact the recruitment for the rest of the flex space? Because some people don't want to be around the recreational use. So those are things that we might get in a CZ that we wouldn't normally get.
Thank you for answering that.
Susan, was the planning board aligned? I know as a board at the time, we said we want to keep CZ within our authority, not expand it to 10 or 12 units rather than 4. I think the planning board was okay with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. 'Cause that whole argument came before because developers were saying, we got to basically come to you for everything that we want conditional zoning. And we said, yeah, we kind of like that. We like that process. It slows it down for a town that's not looking to explode.
Like, the way I always like, and from an example perspective, is everybody's like, we don't need another bank, right, on the town. Well, those are about right,
Mhm.
so they don't come before us. So with CZ,
Yeah,
they kind of have to, we have to figure out, does that make sense?
yeah.
We have a pre-development meeting. We just had one where the developer will come in and say, before I spend too much money, what do you think about this?
Mhm.
And I like that process because you can
Yeah.
kind of say, well, you're going to spend a lot of money and not go anywhere. So that goes away.
Hey, I'm sorry, I just can't read what the names, that,
Yeah, and this is backwards from the other map. Here's Westmoreland over here. So here's the road, here's Alexander Chase. This road
okay.
exists. It comes down, here's the park.
and that's
You
the
see
extension down.
The road
Okay.
that comes into the park. This is the switchback to get down underneath the road for the greenway. And then the road continues on out, comes right along adjacent to 77, and then picks up at the existing North Cross down in Huntersville.
Thank you.
So what was the purpose of that roundabout?
To slow traffic down.
Okay. But that, that stub off to the park is.
That was in case the park wanted it.
And how large is the roundabout?
Well, actually, they're changing the design. This is just gonna be, and I'm not sure what mitigation they're gonna use. It's not gonna be a normal roundabout. The normal roundabout actually got moved out to here, right at Alexander Alexander Farm in Westmoreland. I'm not sure what the mitigation will be here, but they're gonna do something to slow traffic down in the curve. And we haven't gotten that final plan yet.
Is there anything else in this quadrant that we need to look at, or
This will be it.
are we good as a group? The business campus, we want to keep it that
I'm
way?
good with the business campus, with the stipulation of, like we did on the other side of Westmoreland along the creek bed, where it would stay preservation wooded, would not be built into the creek area.
We are actually gonna come back, like all the notes you've made about preservation of green space, we're gonna come back and look at those individually, because those are actually things that go in the code.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do whatever or we're gonna recommend whatever you'd like to recommend.
Okay.
How big you'd like the buffers to be, how big you'd like environmental areas to be. So all that we would recommend as code amendments.
So other than the blue, what else are we looking at in that quadrant before we can move to?
That's really the only thing that's
Okay.
open that you have. These are existing.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to redo any of those, right?
No.
The only caveat to that question would be the one neighborhood at the bottom that would be surrounded by business campus.
Yes, right.
Starwood Forward or whatever. If forever that gets, it's not happening in our lifetime immediately, but, that would be an area to look at future ones.
Explain that.
If that neighborhood goes destitute and is going to be leveled at some point, I don't think we want to state that with, surrounded by business campus all around it, to continue to have a neighborhood in there, we could expand business campus at that point.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
with
like
the
you. I don't
connected-
think that's gonna happen.
It's
in our
not gonna happen in
lifetimes.
our lifetime, but,
Well, and I think with the connectivity, that it actually, I think that if it were not connected, that might mean something, but with the connectivity now, it like actually brings that neighborhood
Correct.
in line with the other neighborhoods within Cornelius.
The only thing for that neighborhood that needs to kind of be addressed, and this goes to the parks team, is connectivity to the greenway. That park right now, that neighborhood is not connected to the greenway at all.
And we've posed that question to Mecklenburg County Parks and Rec because they've been requesting a connection to the Greenway for years.
Yeah.
Well, it would be really easy because you've got the connectivity right there at Burkdale.
Well, they've got the connectivity at the business below it, but not in through their neighborhood, like there is at Robin. at
Right.
Burkdale, at.
No, I know, but there's
Yeah, but
like
there's-
literally the walkway is right there.
They're a short walk to access to Greenway, which is better than most neighborhoods have.
Better
I
than,
don't see
that's all.
I don't
So
see
there's a
what
gas station there, there's no rubber.
makes that neighborhood so special that we would spend a lot of money just to connect them. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
I think what the county's looking at is trying to find a small grant that will allow them
There's
to
halfway to get to.
utilize that
that
grant
to
just to
get
put
through.
a connection, whether it's some steps or a small paved area, just so they can get directly to it.
All they're gonna need.
Good. Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll move over to the southeast, and, I'm just gonna walk,
So I did notice the zoning signs are up for the hospital,
yes.
and it's not on the corner, which is where
Well, actually, it's,
it's down across from 131 Main.
yeah, and the reason for that, they own all of this blue area that you see right here, except for where the John Deere
Correct.
tractor is.
Yep.
So they are only rezoning this section for the hospital right now. This top section, they will have a private developer who will work with them. Originally, that was gonna be Aston property, but I think that deal fell through because in the development world, Steele Dewey passed away, and so I think they're gonna use somebody else. Don't know who, they don't know yet. So right now, the rezoning is just for the hospital, which is right here.
So is a hospital considered business campus?
No, well, yes, it is.
Is it, or institution?
Well, a hospital can fit into a lot of different categories. We required them to give us trip generation numbers as if this was built out for retail. So that's what we're doing traffic on. It's not gonna be for retail, it's gonna be office, maybe hotel, convention center.
Okay.
But we don't know yet. That's something we'll look at down the road. The current rezoning that will come before the town board next month to start with is for hospital only.
Correct. Nice looking design, by the way.
I think so. It's gonna look just like the one in Stallings, which we toured. It's magnificent.
It's amazing, yeah. That's gonna be a great addition.
So north of that, south of, right there, yeah, exactly, where tenders, so will tenders and all of that eventually go away?
When the hospital redevelops, with their commercial partner, yeah, tenders goes away.
Across the street.
Moving across the street.
And I think it's tender, is that also the U-Haul, how far down is it,
Yeah.
like to the U-Haul?
No,
Is that-
Yes.
Now, U-Haul is not included, I'm glad you brought that up, so it's U-Haul and the,
Right next to
The old
ours.
strip center, the business strip thing?
so that will stay.
Okay.
But Atrium owns everything else.
All the way down, almost to Home Depot.
Well, here's the church, they own to the church. It's a
Okay.
Grace Covenant.
Yep, and they already got that office building, medical office building approved through
Right.
there, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And this rezoning, if I looked at the map properly, would tie, they'd borrow that same street for that.
Yes.
And that's that Joe Knox Road or whatever, that,
You know, Joe Knox Road goes away.
Okay.
They'll put in a portion of, they'll put in a portion of this road, which is supposed to be eventually a flyover that will come over into this business campus property.
So that'll connect it to North Cross.
Yes.
You know, in talking to Atrium, you would expect to complement the hospital with a lot of physician offices.
Yeah.
But I think their idea, Elaine, is they're gonna do a little bit more, right? They wanna develop it, some business, I think you might have even mentioned condos.
Yeah, they're gonna ask for some residential, and we'll have to decide how we want to do that.
Yeah.
They would like more of a Burkdale feel, and that's what they're asked for in the future.
Almost along the lines of, if you remember the first proposal, there was going to be a hotel, five-star hotel.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
All that.
Yes,
That's the US.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a little bit more like what they're thinking of as opposed to just medical building after medical building.
Blue lots across the street.
Yes, these are,
One is a field.
they're actually both fields. Now, this is developed, there's a the dentist office. I think Grace Covenant has their main offices in there. But these are undeveloped. The connection from Bailey Road, the new connection will come right through here.
What happens to the rest, the old part?
We hope that the traffic diminishes on that and that becomes more of a neighborhood street.
Oh, so you're still be able to make that turn?
Yeah,
Is there gonna be a
actually,
road,
Yes.
circle there?
roundabout right here.
Okay. Because that was called straightening, so I thought maybe it'd be closed off. I've seen that happen.
But all that gray is industrial right now,
Yes, it is. Now, what I will say is Cornelius Industrial is not like the industrial in the old days.
right?
You don't see tire manufacturers and things like that. Our industrial is more high-tech, and we do have Yamamoto, a tire company out there, but that's their R&D facility. I think most of the employees, the lowest salary out there is $70,000 a year. And it's research and development.
And there's lots of storage facility out there in Hyde Park.
There is,
A lot of it, most of it's used for like subcontractors and industrial.
which that's flex
And
space.
very high end, like put your collector cars kind of thing.
Gotcha.
It's not like your typical storage.
Now, the storage that you do see was, we inherited this from Mecklenburg County. The county had a zoning on this side of the land, on Bailey Road only, that allowed for storage. Now, we don't allow, in Cornelius, we don't allow. You can't do storage anywhere in Cornelius. Unless it's associated with a flex business, like a contractor who has an office, stores his equipment. But we don't allow individual storage. But the reason it's on Bailey Road is that the county allowed it, we inherited that zoning. But as Richard said, that's not your average storage out there. There's some storage units out there that appraise at $350,000 and up because they're man caves. I mean, that's some of the nicest storage you'll ever find out there. It's nicer than my house.
Well, yeah, they're talking about connection, maybe on North Line Road or dropping down towards, from there all the way to the backside.
That has been investigated, but due to the different topography and different things, that can't happen, unfortunately.
We can see if we come west again, what is the orange space down at the bottom?
Pool.
Oh, this is Pool Place.
No,
This is,
To the left
Keep
of,
going,
yeah,
keep
to the
going.
left of Statesville.
To the left,
Over
yeah,
here?
what is
Yeah.
that?
that is Home
That's
Depot.
Home Depot.
Yes.
Is that why it's orange? No.
That's what.
Appropriate.
So along the top of the gray, all the way up to Old Statesville is, top of it, right in the green area.
All up here.
Yeah, we follow that green all the way up, cut through that neighborhood, that's the McDowell, whatever park.
Caldwell Station
Greenway,
Greenway.
right, yeah.
No, that's not Caldwell Station, that's.
No, that's, Caldwell
No.
Station's further
Yeah,
south.
Caldwell
That's the,
Station's down.
This is actually Caldwell Station right here.
Comes right out at the bottom of that Home
Yeah.
Depot.
right beside, that's not it.
Comes out right
FX,
here next to
FXI.
Fomex.
Yeah, Fomex is right
There's
there.
Fomex.
So just north of Fomex?
Yep,
Yep.
and it cuts right through that little
Comes right
neighborhood,
down
right
through
along
here.
green,
Got it, okay.
right
Is
across
that-
Bailey
Oh,
Road.
yeah, I'm seeing that,
And then it comes out down here.
Yep.
yeah, got it.
Where we have no parking,
That's right. No parking, no waiting.
no way to get on.
What happened in Fomax with the buffer? They took that out. There was fencing and a buffer on Bailey, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. You could see the building. Do you know what I'm
From-
I think
from
the
fire.
fencing was temporary after the fire.
talking? No.
And
Way
inside-
before the fire. They took it down before the fire.
Oh, wait, you said on Bailey?
On Bailey, yeah, across from, where the Circle K is.
Yeah, but they still have the ley lines up, right?
The what?
The Leland Cypress.
Part of it, yeah, but there was a real buffer where you couldn't even see the building, and then all of a sudden that disappeared one day. Now you can see them coming in and out, they roll the doors up, you can see them working and stuff on Bailey, but you used to be able not be able to see it, there was a
No.
buffer.
We can go back and look at that,
It
but I
doesn't
will
matter, I was
say,
just curious.
in the industrial district, we actually don't require much of any buffer at all.
Yeah, No, I
Even
agree.
when they're bordering a change of
The,
zone?
it used to be that adjacent to residential, you had a district buffer. And that actually is still, we still require a buffer. But between all these uses, there's no buffer required between the uses in the industrial.
That makes sense. In any zone, it shouldn't be, but where we're buffering, say that trail, like I walk and ride that trail all the time, and that rusty chain link fence, that's the worst visual on that whole trail.
What neighborhood is down at the very bottom? If you scroll down.
Down here,
It's Caldwell.
that's Caldwell Station, I do believe.
That's technically in Green.
The
Yeah,
part.
Oh, yeah, that's Oakhurst above.
Yeah, this is Oakhurst.
Yeah,
This much of Caldwell's in
That's what
Cornelius,
got-
the white section's in Hunter.
I thought y'all said that top part was called station, I'm like, no. Okay, that, all right.
And that's buffered by two sides, by industrial. Because that bottom side line, to the right,
To the right.
That's the rec
Down.
center,
down,
isn't it?
down.
Yeah, it's the
Right
right,
there.
it's the field next to it.
Oh, yeah, now this is,
Oh, no.
let me see where I'm at. Here's the rec center
Yeah,
right here.
You know,
This is Energy United.
Yeah, and Caldwell, yeah, and Caldwell Station is
Mhm.
right above that, yeah.
And what's the blue? Right there.
The blue is
Prep
the
academy.
school, is it not?
Yeah.
Yep, the school, which at the moment I can't remember the name of it. It's a charter school.
Oh, yeah.
And is the road up just to the right off of 115, is that Maze right there?
Yep, that is Mays right there.
Where many cars, many trucks get hung up right there.
So they're right
Well,
across
it's not
from
today.
the
They
Maze.
had to shut it down today.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they stopped on semis through there.
The one thing I will say is that school operational?
Yes.
I had friends whose kids used to go there, and that, I had to take them to school one day, and it's just not a fantastic place for a school. Like, if you have to take a left, traffic would get backed up half a mile there, with people dropping their kids off, because they don't have bus service for charter schools, or at least most of them.
Well, part of our issues, DOT had restrictions on them. You're not supposed to turn left.
Mm.
They posted a bond for concrete medians, but then the school went through some turmoil with their administration, and they went from 300 kids down to, they're about 50 right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
My 2 cents would be, if we're gonna turn that, like, you know, we've got it segmented into commercial campus, and I think that's ideal and what we should be doing from a planning standpoint. But I think taking an opportunity to just turn that whole thing gray would fix a headache that's probably not a
So
highly functional.
turn that gray as well.
That's
So
just my 2
I'm
cents.
looking at that right now, so Energy United is north of Caldwell. It's the spot right north of that
Here.
little, yeah.
Oh, that's it.
So
So
below it is.
This would be the furniture.
That,
Oh,
that pallet place in
Yeah.
the school.
It's import, something import, right? Dealer import?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
They do something with furniture. The only reason I know that, we just met with them about the electric substation,
So
which they declined.
I'm gonna throw this out there. It's surrounded on 3 sides pretty much by residential. Does it make sense to add that as residential from the industrial or whatever it is right now? Keeping this little area of one segmented so it's not wedged in between something. Either the industrial wedged in between neighbors that are annoyed by noise or whatnot, or
I like what you're thinking, but you know, Huntersville just down the road is going a little crazy with high density.
yep.
There's 800 units right here.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I will say, if you talk to folks that live in here, they like the rec center, Energy United, they like the
Sure.
the industrial. They don't want any more residential. And from a traffic standpoint, and from the way we, generally in our town, people do not want more residential.
No, I get you. I'm looking at the picture and I'm seeing a lot of trees, and if I was a developer, I'm looking at, that's a nice juicy piece of property.
think it does give a break between all of the high-density residential, and the use should change, and I get that.
So the road that's right across from Mays Road that goes into that dark gray industrial, I was looking back there one day, and, I mean, what is back there? It looks like it
That's
just
not
goes.
Maze.
Which
At the
one?
top,
Right.
as you saw.
That one's
Okay, there's
Maze.
Maze, so
Here's
go
Maze right there.
over to where we've been looking in the dark, right
Right.
there, the road just above your pointer.
Here,
Nope, just right across the street from Maze entrance.
It's a private
Yeah,
drive.
it's
It's
private
a-
drive.
So that's a house
Yeah.
back there
Yeah.
Yes.
in the industrial area?
You can see just see the
Predates.
stub there, and it's just, as I said, that's, look at the
Yeah,
trees.
there's a lot of trees.
That's
Old house.
juicy if I was a
We
developer.
need- Yeah.
And if it's industrial, those
That's gonna
neighborhoods
go
that are
well.
around there are gonna have no say if somebody wants to put another foam plant in, for lack of a better word.
well, the only thing I would offer there, the way the economy is today, we're not going, Fomex is an outdated type thing.
Oh, yeah.
The industrial that we get today is like the Yamamoto.
Mhm.
It's stuff that when people show up, you don't even hear them, you don't know they're there.
Land's too expensive for anything like that to come here.
Yeah,
But I think the concern is there's so much green there, and the residents really like the commercial or the industrial that's green.
Because they want the
and has
green,
been,
yeah.
but it's just as likely to come in and turn into cement.
Yeah, if it changes, if somebody comes in and sees that as an opportunity because, Hunterville's getting too expensive, or there's not enough land, or whatnot.
Well, I'll tell you, my son's got 3 friends that live on that street coming in, and the reason why they love that, and they used to love it a lot more than they do now, is because they all use that as almost like private parkland. There's
Yeah.
trails, they're all on 4-wheelers back
Sure.
there, like so that's why they don't want, one of the reasons why they don't want residential, is because they like access.
Because they know somebody won't build on it right away, but if that changes, then it now becomes industrial.
It's going one way or the other.
Correct. Because we're gonna talk about the property across the street.
But if that stayed industrial, then it would have to have a buffer that we would decide on.
yes. And right now, it's either 50 or 30. 30 with a wall or 50 with green space.
For a green space.
No kidding.
That's just me, but.
So let's pull back on the map and see where we are.
So we've kind of looked at, we say we kind of like this business campus here.
Good there.
The other side of the road, this is neighborhood commercial.
Which is the difference?
It really just limits it to commercial that really just serves the neighborhood. You can't open it up to what business campus would normally allow. In the neighborhood residential, you have things like restaurants,
Okay.
daycares, things like that. And that over here is where you got 131 Main.
Yep.
Retail,
Water,
basically.
But it can't be large retail.
Right.
So,
There's no targets moving 1 mile from each other.
no.
Okay.
So everybody still okay with that?
And that blue area that's not built on right now, are we good with business campus, like across the street?
I think it makes sense.
That's what the corridor will look like.
And that is right now fields.
Yes.
Which the only caveat I have right there, and you see it along the top of that orange and Oak Ridge or whatever, Granite or whatever, that the buffers between that, the gray, and them, and the buffer between the gray and blue need to be pronounced.
And we'll take a look at that. Like I said, right now it's 50 and 30. And y'all can recommend it be something different if you choose to.
Because there's no buffer right now between that field and the house. If you drive up Statesville Road, you can see the backs of those houses.
Oh, you're right.
And if somebody comes in and builds and we ask them to put trees in, remember, they're putting in trees that are gonna take 15 years to grow 20 feet.
That's right. And that's one reason, I'll go back, I call it the Norris Woody rule, because we used to only require the planted buffer. And Norris said, well, those trees will take 20 years, forever. So he said, I want an option with a wall, because I do not want to look. So that's why we have the 30-foot option with the wall. So you can, that's an instantaneous buffer.
Yeah.
You do not see it.
So is it 30 to 50 feet depending for each group, for the industrial side and for the other side?
Yes.
Okay, it's not a combined, there has to be.
No.
Okay.
How tall is the wall?
So it has to be 100, right?
6 feet tall, minimum height.
Since we're looking at only an hour today, is there any way we could skip over to Bailey?
Yeah.
Are we only an hour today?
We're just going to 5:30.
Okay.
I gotta take a kicking practice. Can you just, there's two pretty big park needs, and I just wanna make sure that I mention this, since I had the lead, depending on what section we're going to. You just got, where are we?
We're going to Bailey Road, over where Huff, Bailey Middle, and all this section over here.
Okay, so then if you look at those two areas, there are no function, they're outside of Bailey Road Park, but there's two more park needs on that side of town, which allows us to keep pace with park acres per residence. I don't know the exact number, but, and so the land that parks is identified would be north of Bailey Middle. So kind of that orange area, orange green, so up there, 10 to 20 acres up in there, and then 10 to 20 acres below Bailey Road in the yellow. And that would serve Mays and below, and then above Bailey would serve Antiquity, down to, not that level, like more up in the green. There, like that whole, all that green area up in there. So we need 10 to 20 acres in there, and then 10 to 20 acres below.
Well, let me address this first, because this would be the easiest one to talk about. This is the Potts Plantation. It's in green, which is one house per 3 acres. And it's also mainly for parks and preservation. The current family said that was fine. The only living member of the current family is Miriam Smith, or no,
Wisdom.
Lillian.
No, Miriam Wisdom.
Miriam Wisdom. Lillian Smith passed away, and Rod Wisdom passed away. So 2 of the 3 have passed away. When Miriam passes away, 2 children do not want to keep this green. They want to monetize it, and they want whatever they can get. But that's a story for another day. Right now, we're good with the dark green, and we can keep it that way.
What's the road there that leads out there?
That's Smith Road.
Where is that from?
That is right next to Mount Zion Church.
Okay,
If you go between the cemetery,
on that side of the tracks.
yep, the tracks are right here.
Do we not want to consider what that should be?
Someday, I think it's good not to have that conversation right now. As long as one of the heirs is living that wants to keep it dark green, I say we keep it dark green. And when the children take over,
Is that Smith Road?
yes.
Okay.
Now, Jane Workman, who's one of the children, she would like to negotiate with somebody to keep the majority of it, well over majority in park and open space. She absolutely does not want to work with Mecklenburg County. So we told the county, stay away from her. But she would like to work with somebody like the Davidson Conservancy or something like that. But I say we let them come to us when the time is right, and not stir the pot right now.
Can I ask you, so this is Bailey Road right here, right?
Yep. Bailey Spring.
Bailey Springs, sorry. The piece right above there, they're building down there, is that, well, that's Davidson though, right?
Davidson.
Okay,
Davidson, yeah.
okay, so never mind. That's what I was gonna ask you, why they're building down there.
But now, a little longer term, going back to that road over by Mount Zion, on the other side of the track, wasn't the intention to continue that road south, keep coming down?
Yes, there is a proposal. Zion ends right about here. This is where Autumn Care is.
Yep.
The proposal is that Zion would be a connector that would come all the way down and connect up in front of Bailey Road Park. And that actually scores very well on our transportation list. We would like to move that up, get that funded, get that built, and open that up as a secondary to take relief off 115.
And the issues with that crossing parkland or what?
Well, now, we're not proposing to cross parkland. It's proposing to stop at Bailey Road Park.
What is what's in the purple, or the light purple there? That's right above your
Light
cursor.
gray?
Oh, up here.
No, sorry, right back
A
down
little lower.
a little bit, all
There,
that
there.
right there.
Oh, no, that's actually great.
I would say, so, look, I might be colorblind today.
No, it looks
But
like
that is
that.
very light gray. That is what we call corporate campus. It's very similar to business campus, but it can allow a small amount of residential. Now, I will say, based on who we're talking to, nobody here right now wants to do residential, and that's a good thing.
Is Hodges
Yes.
AC,
Yes.
HVAC right there?
Yeah, Hodge
Railroad
HVAC
tracks
is
are
right
running
here.
that.
Okay.
Or the one
Yeah.
I
field.
have a question about 115 and all the, just future planning regarding the fact that there are some 4 to 5 to 7 private crossings. And I know that consolidation of crossings is an important thing, but that's a lot of private crossings we got there between Mays Road and Antiquity on 115. What does the town look at that and
Well,
envision?
The town prepared a report several years ago about where we wanted the main crossings to be.
Mhm.
And in our negotiation with Norfolk Southern, we'd have to give up every single one of those private crossings. So that's what we envision, is that there will be a primary crossing right here.
Where is that?
That is in Huntersville, where those 800 apartments are. We would actually close Mays Road, and this road that you see here would come down to here with a signal. So
Okay.
that would prevent all the people getting stuck on Mays Road.
All right, would you say that again? Yeah, just go through that one.
What's the
more time.
timeline?
Next 2 years.
Wow.
We want it to be sooner, but government never moves fast.
Well, and Huntersville's directing that, these are.
Huntersville has taken the lead on that, yes, but we agreed to the plan
Right.
that showed it.
Absolutely.
But we agreed to shut down those private ones. What happens to those homes?
Now, the home, they can stay homes, but when they sell to convert to whatever our land use plan is, they give up that driveway.
Got it. So it doesn't happen immediately, it's just, okay,
May never happen in our life.
yeah.
Well,
If it-
for instance, all these homes up through here, I mean, we're negotiating with Flex Space Builder here. We're negotiating with a couple other businesses in here, a nursery. And unfortunately, it looks like this might, depending on what the town board does, this might be a cemetery.
Really?
At least it's quiet.
Well, as we talked about pre-development, it
Mhm.
kind of goes with our rural preservation
Yep.
theme.
Would it just be like a public cemetery, or would it be attached to like a,
Well, there's
It's
already a
it's
church
just
there,
gonna be a
right?
cemetery, and you were on LDCAP when we studied cemeteries, there's a lot of money in cemeteries these days. I mean,
Wow.
Property
taxes high enough?
they actually are, and I just wrote a thing on that today.
Taxing till you're dead.
Uh,
Then tax again.
Cemeteries pay a lot of taxes, and that's a benefit for us.
Sure.
Our big thing is unfortunately cemeteries create traffic jams when there's a funeral. So we gotta figure out how we do traffic. They don't use utilities.
Don't require police and fire.
I was talking to the potential developer today, I mentioned that we want to put an electric substation there, and he goes, well, my tenants will be fine with that.
There already is one off of
That's
Bailey Road, right?
hilarious.
So the transitional care right above it would just continue to transition.
Yeah.
So do we move the electric substation that's off of Bailey Road right now?
No, that's not ours. That belongs to somebody else. The town's only substation is right across the street here. So this would be the town's second substation out here. The other substations you see belong to either Energy United or Duke.
Be a short ride from Member Kempner.
Well, the developer here, it is Jake Palillo, and as you know, he owns Bailey's Glen. His thing is to create a deal where people move from Bailey's
Oh,
Glen
my
to the
gosh.
cemetery.
I knew that's exactly what you were
Wow.
gonna say.
We'll just get Elon to come put a hyperloop in from the area, please.
What is, remind me how the town tax base is from percentage-wise between residential and business?
Right now, we are generally 83% residential, 17% non-residential.
And that really needs to change.
It should, the
Yeah.
burden should be more on the non-residential and off of the residential customers. And we should do the the best we can to try to move that needle.
So then a question I have when we're looking at the whole thing in quadrants, could we also have the numbers ultimately as a task force for how many residential units there are in each of these quadrants?
We can certainly provide that to you, but I don't know how that,
So the reason that why I could feel like that's important is when we look at this in the southeast area, it's so rural and there's a lot of beauty to that. There's still a lot of residential. And the northeast quadrant is highly residential. I would like to be able to compare that north and south with the northwest and southwest to look at how the connectivity and the traffic flows. If we build too much on the east side where there's so many problems, especially almost daily when things get clogged up on 77, if we have a whole lot more housing on the east side already, that's an important thing I think we need to look at.
Well, there's one thing you need to consider when you're thinking about traffic and house count, is that there may not be a lot of house count on that road, but I live down there, and I can tell you because of the schools, it is a cluster. It is a lot of traffic, and we have to
And that's
really
what I
think
would
about
say,
that
too.
on this.
and we'll be glad to provide that, but what I would say is, as Commissioner Osborne has asked you repeatedly, put the land use that you think you want, and then we can come back and provide a lot of this data, because a lot of that's gonna take me a long time to figure out. And I don't know that this committee's got time for me to wait to do all that.
Well, one of my questions would be, what, and I think I know the answer to this, nothing, but what are the plans to make that road work for more development down there?
Which road?
150?
Bailey?
Bailey?
It should definitely be widened, because you take up all of Bailey and you just stop during school pickup times. I mean, it's a mess, and it's gotta get widened. If you're gonna put anything else on that farmland, it's gotta get widened. It's ridiculous.
Now, that's something we can look at. That road is not scheduled to be widened anytime in the near future. So if we want to accommodate or change the land use to say, we got enough, you can do that. And that yellow is the lowest intensity besides the green. So if you want to, and quite frankly, I would recommend that orange needs to go to yellow or green. You can do that.
But Wayne, there's no sewer out that way, right? We have.
There's no
sewer issues.
availability to build
No
anything else
sewer
there,
up
right?
here. Now, there is sewer down here.
But
Do they have
those fields
availability?
that Richard's talking about, though, my understanding was there's no sewer connect, and that's why it's
Up
been
in here?
slow. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no sewer up in here.
right off of Bailey Road, though. Through there, up north.
All that orange and gray, there's no sewer?
Well,
That's my understanding.
it depends on what you want to do. Charlotte Water will allow you to pump over, but you can't do major development there. I mean, they're talking small pump.
Okay, interesting.
If you put this into yellow, these properties will be fine.
And right now it's in
It's in 4 to 6 units per acre.
large lot.
But they're all just one right now.
Right.
But
What's the yellow? 1 to 3?
The yellow
One per three?
is up to 2 units per acre.
Wayne, isn't there a delay from Charlotte Water on
There's
that side?
There's a delay on everything on the east side of 2024.
At minimum to 2020.
Yeah, now, once that opens up, it's open back up for good.
So let's talk about the big green nugget at the top.
Okay.
Because looking at that, I can see why they want to digitize it. But, you know, whatever. Realistically, what do we want? Do we want to put into that big swath of green right now?
I would say leave it big swath of green.
I'm with you, but I'm just, that's not gonna make them the money they want.
Well, I think we wait on the patriarch or the matriarch to die.
So there are 2 of them.
Well, there were 3, we're down to 1.
Oh, we're down to 1.
Yes.
Okay.
So when they're ready for that, then they can just petition for a change.
And I think we go through a whole study of what we want that area to be. Because right now, there's only one access point, and that's Smith Road.
Correct.
Your taupe is all messed up too, and some of that, because, I mean, just, I don't know how some of that can get developed. The stuff close to
I mean,
Bailey's
honestly, I
really
think the
rough.
study of that area is a 3 to 4 month study in and of itself.
Yeah.
How old is, how old is he, her?
She's in her
Or
90s.
she?
Yeah,
Nine
she's in
something.
her upper nineties.
You know.
We've got about 5 minutes left,
Yep.
so let's pull out again and just kind of summarize where we are and what we need to come back to. But I think there's a good portion of this that we're pretty happy with. There's,
Right.
you know, the industrial space, we have very little of that in our town, and that has been very helpful and attractive. We know what Atrium's doing, so let's pull all the way back and look at the quadrant.
Can I say just real quick, Dennis?
Yeah.
I agree though with Wayne about that orange area being yellow,
Okay?
just because it creates a continuity.
Yep.
And depending on what does in fact happen with Potts area, if, it will kind of blend very well into that, whatever it looks like, I feel like.
But the feeling I'm getting from this discussion is, we're okay with the way proposed by I-77, the further east you move, we're looking to try to keep it as green as we can, low density.
That gray in the lower left-hand corner there, the lower right-hand next to the yellow, that big farm, right there.
Oh,
Right
okay.
on.
And that's light gray as well. And that's corporate campus.
See, you colorblind too.
Yes.
Now, one reason that's that way is the Mays family requested that. They feel like they can recruit a business because it's good access to 77 and down to 25.
Love that farm though.
Problem is, you know, it's gonna take some money to fix the railroad track. Now, they're very well aware that we're putting in the signal right here. They think that will raise the value of that tremendously. Now, most people out here don't have a problem with that, at least the neighbors don't have a problem if that converts. But the reason I say that is everybody out here is a Mays or a cousin of Mays.
Ed Knox has the property, is he the realtor?
Yes.
So we haven't talked about recreational needs and the potential use of the southeast quadrant for that. And I have just a whole group of people who are talking with me about, we need pickleball. And now, I've never played pickleball, but evidently it is the rage. And one of my neighbors took a tour through the North Met Center, and the manager said that 40% of the calls that they get are about pickleball, and that was shocking to me.
Yeah, and they have indoor
And-
pickleball plenty.
But they don't actually have pickleball. They have a gym floor that has, you know, it's used for basketball, it's used for badminton,
Multi-purpose,
it's
yeah.
used for pickleball, and then it's used for open gym, and it's used for camps. So it can only be used at certain times of a day or a week or a month for pickleball. But my point is, these people are saying, have the town look at Holbrook down in Huntersville. They've got 6 to 8 pickleball courts. The guy called me today and said, Thursday he was there were 30 people waiting for the pickleball courts, and the tennis courts were just several people playing. That was it.
That whole pickleball tennis discussion, let's park that,
Table it?
Becky, if we could.
Sure.
But we'll take it up
Oh,
first thing.
totally, yes.
Just to say that there's quite a bit bubbling around,
Oh,
as you
good.
say, Wayne,
Most
Oh,
especially
nice.
Bailey Road Park.
Lovely.
So
Okay,
there, you know, there's discussions from the town board.
sure.
You know, we're hearing it loud and clear.
Okay,
And what we want to do is what is most cost effective and quick.
totally.
Because there are some other things in Robbins Park and other places that could be 10 years out.
Sure.
But we'd like to find maybe a 2-year solution or
Yeah.
a quicker solution.
Okay, lovely.
But no,
Happy to
that's
do that
important.
next time.
Let's park that for now and see if we have any other
So
overall.
We'll change this to yellow, but is there any other overall, and then next time we can jump into the northeast.
I think it, you know, from what you've said, it fits into, even if that road is extended to get rid of the Mays Road issue, all that, you're still cool, that still fits in with the discussion, just makes traffic a little easier.
And when does 115 widen, and does it widen from where to where?
It's the entirety from Huntersville all the way to Davidson. Right now, we have no money, so we're talking 10 to 15 years.
So we have to widen that one ourselves.
No, we're making on DOT. We don't have any money in that
So
one.
it'll be 15 years.
And then,
Not to our lifetime, right?
You talked about the gray in the maze, right above that, the orange. I know that's residential and that's part of Bailey's Glen and that's to be developed, but that has a sign on it that it was supposed to be resort living, multifamily,
Correct.
high rises. What's going on with that now?
So already Jake won.
He was approved for condos. He had conditions that he had to contribute to park amenities. We are negotiating what that contribution should be.
I'm
And
shocked nothing's been
he
done
can-
here.
well, he can't get a permit until we come to an agreement on what the contribution should be. And we're working with the town board on that.
Will that have access across the street, some kind of crossover?
No, Norfolk Southern will not allow that to cross over.
No, at the point where I'm talking about, it crosses over the rec center.
That's gonna be closed. Norfolk Southern gave him that for construction and temporary access. And Norfolk Southern has come back and said, hey, we're getting ready to close that.
Okay.
They plan on using this track more?
It's an interesting question.
I mean, I know we want to use it for transit, but
There's a lot of discussion going on and a lot of leverage that Norfolk Southern's trying to exert to acquire other lines like along 85 up to Greensboro in exchange for use of this line. Without getting into the whole story, yes, or it's a maybe. We'll just have to wait and see.
because I mean, I lived on it a bit for a decade, and you know, the one train a day that goes by
Well,
doesn't
there's three,
compute with the,
there's 3 a week that go to Fomax.
yeah.
That's all we have right now. That's probably all we're gonna have for
Well,
the
and they
next.
had the ones that went down to the steel place down off of whatever, but it's just like, the sheer lack of volume on that track doesn't equate to their obstinance for allowing that to be used for other purposes.
That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
That is, color that one politics.
Yeah.
That one, yeah, there's not a lot of sense you can make out of it just by looking at it, but I'm hearing pretty clear, I think we are all in agreement as you move further east on this map, we're trying to preserve as much green as we can.
It's the
Absolutely.
place with the most green we have.
If we could, we'll start with a little bit of pickleball, tennis discussion, maybe as we start the next session. But we'd like to wrap this up. We'll come back to it, so just be thinking about, is there something that really stands out that we didn't cover? But generally, I think there's some really good development coming in this area that could help, especially the hospital.
Is there a walking path, part of the trail in that lower right-hand quadrant? And I know it goes to where, just north of Fomex, but is there any trail possibilities over here as well?
Well, you've got the multi-use path on Bailey, you've got Plum Creek going to Davidson, we've got a trail coming this way, and we're looking for easements to try to get down to Mays and connect into Huntersville.
Okay.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, thank you all very much. This is productive. For an hour, we covered a lot of turf.
Yeah.
Hopefully our missing compatriots will agree.
Thanks for jumping over there. 'Cause I'm not gonna be
You're
here.
not gonna say.
Excuse you, Lou.
That's right.